Okay, so you're talking about Grandpa being born in 1902.
in Butte, Montana. Uh, his dad was a miner, and uh, I read in a book that somebody from the WPA had written that he also had they lived on a creek and he had a tavern in his house. Dad said that when he was growing up, the Irish were so superstitious that when he went to bed, then they were scared to get out of bed because the leprechauns would get him.
Now, wait a minute though. Now, my grandfather was born in Butte, Montana.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my dad.
And your grandfather was from Ireland, right?
Yeah,
Okay, he came over when, do you know?
no,
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. But anyway, he's the first generation to be over, your grandfather.
yeah,
And also, him and his wife, first generation, so Grandpa is the first generation to actually be born in the United States.
that's right.
Okay, and you said there was a tavern
In that house.
in their house.
They lived by a creek. Well, anyway, that's what I got from the book we read.
Cool.
And Mom and Dad, my mother and Dad, had the flu, and Grandpa went to the bookmobile in Superior, Montana, and got this book, and we were really surprised to read in it about my grandfather. Well, anyway, my dad was orphaned at 6, and then he was put in a Catholic orphanage, and later on, an aunt and uncle from Plains, Montana came and got him. He and his sister, and his sister was younger, but all they wanted him for was to work.
Okay, Mom, now, did they both die at the same time?
No.
Okay, how did his parents die?
My grandfather died what they called miner's consumption.
Okay, black lung.
We think that it might be what they call TB today.
Okay.
Black lung. And then my grandmother died in 1918 from the flu, that terrible flu. No, I don't know what year it was. But anyway, that's what she did. And then after my dad was in Plains, Montana for a while, he ran away. And then I guess he went back to Butte, and he worked in the mines for a long time. And I guess they really played a lot of tricks on the miners down there. And one thing I remember telling is that there was a cat they had caught, and so they took it downstairs, and they put it in one of the, like a mailbox or something. And this poor cat got really hot. And the guy that opened it, this cat came out of him and really got his chest and everything. Well, and then later on, my dad would go from harvest to harvest, and he got up around Charlotte, Montana, and he harvested for my grandfather, and there he met my mother. And they were married in 1927.
Now, what kind of harvesting?
Wheat,
Okay.
and he thought my grandmother was the best cook in all those that they were harvested at. And my mother was a good cook too. And then we lived in many places. My grandpa wanted my dad to go farming with him, and potatoes were $2 100 pounds, but no one had the $2 to buy the potatoes. And Grandpa said, "No, I don't think I want to be a farmer." But he came to be a crane operator, dragline, and they said that he was so good he could put the bucket on a dime and give you change. He also drove, what's this? What's up at Sumter?
Oh,
Bart. Oh well.
just I have to think about that for a minute. Oh, that makes me mad. Because I know what that's called.
Yeah, well,
When they flip the ground around to get the gold.
yeah, and he worked on those. And I don't know, at one time I figured out I had moved 57 or 58 times. After I got married, Art was living in the parsonage and I went there. And 9.5 years later we moved to Pendleton. And then after he died, I bought this little house and moved. But then I went back to Moses Lake, and I had moved 4 times after Art died until I'm down here in Pendleton now.
Now, tell him why you moved so many times when you were growing up, Mom.
Okay, Grandpa was went on jobs, and but he never wanted to go alone, and so he always took his family with him. We lived in some unusual places. One was, Colleen wants to be sure to tell you about this. I don't know where the town was. I was too little to remember. But we had this slough that ran through the house, and it was kind of a hollowed out log, but the creek ran right through the house, and us kids could play in the living room with the pollywogs. And also, there was quicksand outside of this, and we were not allowed to go in certain places because of quicksand. And the people Dad worked for there were from the east. They were very wealthy. We didn't see much of them. But anyway, I remember that. We lived out of Arco, Idaho, at a mine, and I think I was probably about 11 years old. And we lived in one big cookhouse, and Dad had built bunk beds on one side. They were double. The girls slept up on the top bunk and the boys slept on the bottom bunk, and Mom and Dad had a bed on the other side. It was the living room, the dining room, and that. And we had what you call horseflies up there, and Mother was so terribly allergic to them. She always wore Dad's shirts and kept them tight around her arms and her legs because she really, and in the summer, and in the nice days, Mother would cook outside because it was so hot up there. We had one crazy kid, Kenny McKenzie, that worked up there, and he used to go through the rafters all like a monkey. Also,
In your house?
Also, the hired men slept in a tent, and we had a
Now, these are guys that work for Grandpa?
up at the mine.
Okay.
And we had a cloudburst one time, and this Kenny McKenzie had a canvas on his bed, and he went out, and in the canvas it was just a puddle of water, so he took it and threw it off. But also this cloudburst took our bridge out,
Oh.
and we couldn't get in or out for over a week until the men got a new bridge done. But Mother would make the dinner, and us kids would carry hot dinner up to the men in the mine.
Whoa.
She'd make creamed potatoes and peas and ham and things like this, and us kids would carry them up to the mine. And also, we did have a track in this mine and coal cars, and we would ride those sometimes.
That sounds fun. Was it?
Yeah.
Was it very steep? Did you go very deep?
No.
Okay, now how many people would Grandpa have working for him?
Oh, I think there were 2 or 3 up there.
Yeah?
I remember Kenny and another one. And Kenny lived there, but he had lived in Polson at one time. But he and his mother lived in Arco. And he's telling one day he went outside and this rattlesnake was on the top
Ew.
of the door sill. And as he went out, it came down.
Ew.
Okay, and another time we lived at a mine outside of Helena, Montana, and some people from Minnesota had this. And the man Pitcher, that was such an inventor, you know, the pitcher pump
Yeah.
and all that. He invented the gold washer they used up there. And he came up. This man was very big. His hands were huge. And when you talked to him, it looked like Pitch was way over there, seeing something that you couldn't see, or that. But he was really wonderful. And his wife would come with him, and she'd sit in the vacant cabin. And she must be the most patient lady I've ever known. Oh, here comes Kim. Okay, we'll talk about Pitch later.